building committee to kick the idea around a little bit more, and hopefully they come together on a proposal and an idea, which
Are they gonna come and make a presentation to the board?
they are anticipating doing that, yeah. So,
Thanks for the update.
can't wait.
What was the cost range?
It's the whole, actually, under $3 million for the whole thing. Depending upon how they phase it and what it's gonna be done.
Food stands, restrooms?
Yeah, actually, the restrooms, apparently, the municipalities have been very successful in getting waivers from the state now. And the big issue with Woburn and some of the other high schools in relation to having to have all of these restroom facilities for a football stadium. Most have been, if not all, that have sought waivers have successfully been granted the waivers, so that the school is close enough to the field where they believe, all of the proposals that I saw, believe that they will be granted the waiver, which is huge.
We had talked about the Hillview, and bringing some of the recreation facilities under the purview of the Hillview, from the point of view of maintenance. Is any,
We're still talking amongst the parties to see if we can come to some consensus on it. Of course, the school committee has not taken a formal position on it. We've had informal discussions with the superintendent. Of course, Hillview for years have been talking about that being a very distinct possibility and wish in relation to being able to do that. Again, most people think that this would be a cost savings to the school department. I personally, being a former member of the Hillview Commission and a member of this board, don't look upon it as a cost savings for the school department, other than you're relieving them of some of the expense for the maintenance and upkeep. But I see it as an enhancement to the current facilities that we have and maintaining them better than we do, and then possibly enhancing the facilities themselves by expanding them and having a revenue source to make them better. But, those details still need to be worked out. I think there's still some reluctance on some individual members of the school committee's part until they see some specifics in relation to how is this deal gonna be worked out in relation to care, custody, and control of the property. Would the school actually be relinquishing too much? So there's some questions that need to be answered and worked out, but I'm quite confident that eventually it's gonna come to fruition, and I think it's a good way to utilize Hillview enterprise funds in order to maintain open space and recreational spaces. So I think it'll come to fruition, and timing might be right now. As far as
the timing might be right.
the timing might be right to
$230
actually
million?
make this whole thing come together, because of the strain on the school department budgets and
I'd be getting,
and the lack of
hanging around
and
with
the-
our
the
mics.
lack of funding that's available to maintain the facilities that we have. And this is maybe an opportunity that we can take advantage of, push it forward now.
Okay. Any other comments regarding the turf field article? Next, retirement trust fund.
An article that is a routine article, transfer monies to a retirement trust account. Remains to be seen whether there'll be any monies to be transferred here. Keep in mind, this is not the amount that we normally set aside for the retirement of municipal and school employees to pay their end-of-career buyouts. There is an additional article that appears later in the warrant that accomplishes that.
This would be to set up a fund to cover the peaks and valleys, at the peaks of retirement benefits. Rescind bond authorizations for modular classrooms.
You're talking about just establishing a fund again?
No, there's been an account previously that's been voted by town meeting establishing it.
Right.
This would be to determine whether the town wishes to put a sum of
Some
money
money
in it.
And,
We created that
I
fund
don't-
was it last April?
couple of
Or
years.
was it October? I don't remember now.
No, the fund has actually been in place
It's been there for a while.
For a while.
Been-
Yeah, we had it, it was a long time ago. We formed it, had it up to $500,000, and then we had the early retirement incentives for the school teachers a few years back, and it wiped it out and then some.
Okay, rescind, bond authorizations.
This is just dealing with the rescinding the residual, the amount that was not borrowed on one of our projects. It
So
was-
it's of no financial benefit,
There's
it just
no-
takes that,
There's
takes that article off.
no financial impacts whatsoever. The next article deals with the triennial property revaluation, which is required by the Department of Revenue. Selectman Vino, it's a mandate of the state that every
Need
3 years.
Another letter to the governor.
Every 3 years.
The mandate,
$50,000.
Every 3 years, we do a reval of all of our real estate in the community, including residential and commercial. This will need to be in place prior to setting the 2011 tax rate. So we would expect that this work needs to be completed in its entirety no later than the mid-year of calendar year 2010. That allows us to have it completed and incorporated into the tax rate. The amount that you see here is $150,000, and we'll need to determine a source of funds.
We did
to
this
do that.
3 years ago, how much did we spend?
Same. Oh, I thought it was 2 1/4. Could be. What we would do is hire a consultant to come in and do this work. And needless to say, probably now more than ever, it is necessary, given the state of the housing market, to have accurate values on our properties.
Any questions on that article?
Some of it comes out of overlay reserve, I thought, though.
It does,
Yeah, that's where,
exactly.
hopefully, it's all gonna come out.
Right, I mean, I think you asked where it was going, you didn't know where it was coming from, but I thought
Yep.
that's what you use that for.
Next one is accept a deed.
Yes, we have a resident who's proposed the town accept a parcel of land. It is map 17, parcels 57. The town will proceed with foreclosure. However, the resident has indicated that they'd like to donate the land to the town. What we normally do is we notify all of our boards and committees that have interest in property to report back as to whether this is land that would be suitable to meet the need of any municipal interests or departments. We've not done that yet, but we will. And that will certainly be incorporated and brought back before the board, and you can make a decision as to whether you wish the article to remain on the warrant to go forward.
I mean, what choice do we have here? If, it sounds like the owners aren't gonna pay the taxes on it, so
Foreclose.
we can take it and foreclose it, and we have it anyway.
Right.
So what's the benefit of them donating it versus,
There's,
Us taking it.
minimizes our legal costs, as the treasurer
but
pointed out.
what's the benefit to the,
Not foreclosed upon,
It's not
less of an impact on.
do they get a write-off if they donate it versus it?
Less of an impact probably on their credit rating, if it doesn't go into foreclosure. Keep it out of that.
Should look a write-off.
Fine.
Yes. Never thought of
Asking
that.
questions,
Yeah,
that's
no,
all.
I never thought of that.
What was that, Joe?
Well, if they donate it, do
Well, I've
they get
asked,
to
do they
write
get
it
a
off?
write-off on the, do they get a write-off if they donate that land back to the town?
Hope so. I would assume so.
I don't know the particulars of the land, but we have a letter here from they said they were residents, they're not residents, they're individuals that live in Chelmsford. They're in they're an elderly couple, they can't afford it, they indicate that the property in the past has been used, as a tent site, there's a platform that's out there. So apparently, taking a first glance at this thing, it looks as though the land is dry. We wouldn't be accepting a swamp or something similar to that. But again, we'll defer this to the boards and committees that have interest in municipal property and have them do a more thorough review of it.
We don't know how big it is.
No, I was hoping, I pulled out the letter because I was hoping that there would be some reference to the size of the parcel, and I just don't see it. I see a map and lot number, but I just don't see a map that accompanies that.
You know, it's owed. How much is it?
Yeah, it says,
Where it would be.
Zero Southwick, I don't.
Yeah, I know Southwick, there's no land
at the beginning or way at the other end?
It's
Could-
not at the other end. I'm wondering if it's down by that,
Could be just maybe
by
a piece
that
of
culvert.
land lot, maybe?
yeah, maybe, yeah, it could be landlocked, maybe, I don't know.
All right, well, we need to, before we take a position on it.
The
we'll-
knowledge I have is that the taxes remain fiscal 2000 and 2007 and 2008. I do not have the specific dollar amounts, but we certainly will ascertain that and get back to you.
All right.
Just give us a little map of the location.
Oh, yeah.
In the operating budget, it is our intent to postpone discussion of that until April 29th or the 27th?
You skip over an article?
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, increased demand, right?
Right. Presently, the demands are, the previously allowed amount by state statute was $5. The state does allow that demand to be increased up to $30. It does require a vote of town meeting, so the town can pick and choose an amount that may not exceed $30. You have a proposal here from the treasurer that indicates that she'd like to have an increase from $5 to $10 again. It remains to be seen whether that amount is the final amount, but it does provide the statutory maximum.
So I would suggest.
A
that-
demand is written at, after the end of the fiscal year, the last tax bill that comes out at the end of the fiscal year.
31st day after the bill is rendered, a demand can be issued.
On any quarter, or
Yes.
only on the last quarter?
Not only on real estate taxes, but if someone doesn't pay their motor vehicle excise tax, on the 31st day, the town has the ability to issue a demand. There's a fee that's associated with that. So it's an amount that applies to a number of bills in town.
It's tied to 30 days after the due date on the bills. Yes.
I don't know what point to bring this up, but I'd like to see it be $15 rather than 10. We're at 5, we're at the very bottom of the scale. I say we go halfway.
The other thing is that I would suggest, and I don't know if it's possible, is to keep the dollar amount, or if you say up to $30, if that's what's allowed. Because if you put $10 in the article, that's all you're gonna be allowed to have for a motion on the floor. And if we decide to change something after the time the warrant goes out to print, can't do it. So if you
That's
keep
a
it more
good
generic.
suggestion.
Good point.
And then-
So if you keep it more generic, it gives us the flexibility to look at it a little bit longer.
Discussion, we
Yeah.
could,
Discussion. So either keep it, pre-written demand issued by the treasurer for a fee not to exceed $30, if that's what the law states.
And then the fee
Or just
would be
keep
a
it generic
policy.
altogether. What's that?
And the fee would be a policy set by the board or
Yeah.
by
And
the
then-
collector?
Either way. I don't know what the enacting legislation calls for.
Yeah.
I don't know, it may call for a town meeting vote with a specific amount.
It
but
does.
But, well, then we still have to, leave us some wiggle room.
I think you hit the nail on the head. The motion can be specific, but the warrant article can say an amount up to.
Yeah. Which means that we'd make a decision
Yeah.
at the time of
yeah,
the meeting.
right, fine.
Any other questions on Mass General Law, Chapter 60?
Joe can arm wrestle over the 15 or 10.
Okay, the operating budget, we are going to postpone to a date certain, the end of April. Fund retirement obligations, this will be interesting.
This amount needs to be ascertained, obviously.
Now, tell me this,
We'll
if,
get it this week.
if, we have to know about requests for retirement prior to the town meeting date, right? In other words, under the contracts, I know in the school department there,
It's this week, isn't it?
right,
February,
sometime
First of
February,
February.
same thing on the town side?
Generally, we have a good idea of when someone's getting ready for retirement. It's something that, for the most part, unless someone is very ill or there's some family circumstances that come up, we can see these things coming. What we're doing is we're waiting for the number from the school department.
So, let's say an employee notifies the town that they're gonna retire